The Detroit Red Wings cannot pass up this opportunity as multiple new reports have revealed a position of need that Steve Yzerman is looking to fill, and the new perfect trade target has been revealed. We're going to break down exactly who this is, how he would fit in the salary cap structure, and on the team itself as the Red Wings continue to look to push to make this year's Stanley Cup playoffs. We're going to break it all down in this episode of Red Wings Digest. But before we get into all of that, a quick reminder to hit that subscribe button. We're up to 1,200 subscribers on the channel, a brand new channel. Your support has been unbelievable so far. Thank you so much. And we're trying to hit our goal of 1,500 subscribers. But Mark, let's waste no more time. Let's get right into it. We have a trade target to get to because multiple new reports have been revealed.
And I think the big thing is, and before we dive too far, I do want to bring this up very quickly, that we're getting a new streaming plan for the Red Wings heading into next year. You can read through this as well, so it's going to be interesting to see how they do this. And I just wanted to kind of throw this on the screen. You guys can find it all over social media. The Red Wings put it up. This is going to be interesting on how they kind of dive into the new service where they're sharing with the MLB as well. But Darius, I do want to dive straight into these reports. And we know this is a team that is currently struggling a lot when it comes to 5-on-5 numbers. You can see right here, they're ranked 27th in the league with just 2.11 goals per game at 60. 5-on-5, the Kraken and the Islanders are the only two teams in the playoff spot, and they need to address this. Now, we know this is the team that's quite far up in the standings. We love to see that the Red Wings are relevant and making that huge push to not only make the playoffs, but secure a top spot, make a run, and hopefully win a Stanley Cup this season. But it dives right into the fact that us, the fans, everyone knows that this is a team that needs to find a right-handed shot defenseman. Now, when looking at the blue line, we're not hating on anyone on that right side. Of course, Hamonic could be better, and it's better if he didn't take shots on his own net. But at the end of the day, adding an extra guy in here would bolster this side, and I think it really dives into a right-handed defenseman that teams are going to be looking at. We talked about Justin Falk as a possible name, but diving farther into this, we're seeing a lot of reports pop up on one defenseman in particular playing in New Jersey. The team is trying to stay in the race. I'm not sure how eager Fitzgerald is to move him with Luke Hughes out, but they're waiting. They want to see more information after this break because with the Devils dropping in the standings with multiple reports coming out that this is a team that's looking to trade off the defenseman, the long-tenured defenseman that had some time around the NHL. Darius, before we get into this report linking the team, I'll throw it up on the screen while we're talking, but do you feel like this Dougie Hamilton sweepstake might come to a head after this Olympic break? And with a player with term, we know Stevie Y loves this, with the fact that this team is looking for that position, does this almost feel like the perfect move in their books?
And for those of you who've been around on the channel for a while, we've already discussed, 2 weeks ago at this point, that Steve Yzerman is looking for a center and a right shot defenseman. He wants to bolster the blue line. If you take a look at the blue line, like you mentioned, no disrespect to anybody, but I think Axel Sandin-Pellikka would be better suited on the third pairing. He's a young defenseman that could be playing in a sheltered role, and he could be, putting in some really good minutes if that's the case. He might be exposed a little bit because of his inexperience. And again, I think he's a great talent. He's going to be fine. He's going to be a great NHLer. But I think that inexperience might be exposed in the playoffs if he is having to play second pairing minutes. If you upgrade or trade for anybody, it would be an upgrade, I should say, on Travis Hamonic at this point, right? So if you're going out and getting Dougie Hamilton, that would certainly be an upgrade on Travis Hamonic, and Dougie Hamilton behind Mo Seider would be fantastic. I mean, that would really bolster the blue line. Now, how does this work? And who is Dougie Hamilton as a player? Well, he's a decent two-way defenseman. He's not the great defensively or in terms of takeaways or anything like that. You could take a look at this for how much he's played this season. Like, he has some good numbers, decent numbers. He's fairly physical. He's not the most physical defenseman in the league or anything like that, but he's fairly physical. Again, he's more known for his offensive upside, so that could help with the team. But again, just that experience of him being in the league for so long and his size, I think could really help the Red Wings bolster the blue line. He makes a lot of money. He makes a lot of money, and obviously the Red Wings are looking to probably move off of him and this contract at this point. Things have come to a boiling point in New Jersey, and I think that they're looking to move him. They have been for the last couple of months, but I think they want to see where all the cards fall as soon as everybody comes back from the Olympics and what that looks like. But I don't think that's a team that's going to make the playoffs, and he has some term left on his contract. I think it makes sense for the Red Wings. We know that Yzerman wants to trade for a right shot defenseman that has term. He's not a big fan of trading for a rental, especially with where this team is at right now if you're going to be giving up assets. So I just have to say, in terms of all the reports we've seen from what Steve Yzerman wants to do from multiple insiders, Dougie Hamilton, Mark, in terms of the cap situation too, actually does make some sense.
And I think the big thing is, listen, you need to figure out where the two, because if this is a team, we've seen a couple of reports that if we see the New Jersey Devils make a surge, they're going to want a king's ransom. This is not the player you give up a king's ransom for, but if they fall in the standings, once they get Luke Hughes back, we don't care how their season goes as long as we're getting a cheaper option. But looking at Dougie, I think it's super interesting. The 5-on-5 numbers with this team right now is abysmal. That's the best way to put it. It's a very good team. The goaltending has been great. We have elite talent. Of course, the second line center would be a nice little upgrade, but I think at the end of the day, if you put Dougie Hamilton on that second pairing, if you play him with Sherrod, those are big bodies playing next together. Hamilton comes in, what, 6'6", a guy that can move the puck, an extra body that can help you put up those numbers, spring people on the power play or on 5-on-5, someone that has a good shot on this team. But I think it comes down to retaining on the salary. If they're really looking at moving on from this guy, if the Devils say, and Tom Fitzgerald, we want him off. We've seen him scratch part of the season. We've seen him sit out. We've seen the rumors. This is a guy that would fit perfectly in a cap world that's raising $10 million per season if you can get him around $6 million. Now, would I move off a bunch of draft capital, a young piece, multiple picks for this guy? No, but if the Devils sit there and say, hey, we want cap flexibility, we know you guys have it, give us a mid-round pick, you might have to give up a second to get this guy at a retained salary. But in the Devils' eyes, a lot of people might say, hey, we're moving a player, why would we move him for a second? But you free up $6 million, you eat $3 million, we get a player that can fill on the back end. Darius, I don't know if you feel different. We've seen the reports that this is a guy, Detroit is repeatedly in the mix for Hamilton services, which trade talks with the Red Wings need to add a defensive depth. Hamilton isn't exactly what I originally had in mind, but he addresses the need nonetheless. It feels like this player is more available than ever, and going into this Olympic freeze, coming out of it, I'm sure there's going to be a lot of phone calls between this league for Dougie's services, and I think the Wings are going to be at the top of the list again.
And I think there already were a ton of phone calls before the Olympic break, and I think the Devils just, again, want to see where everything falls coming out of the break and their health and injury statuses and stuff like that. But to me, Dougie Hamilton fits this team, right? Obviously, you want him on reduced salary. You don't want to take on the $9 million. You can, if you want to, you can, but for the betterment of this team moving forward and some of the core and some of the guys you have to sign, you don't want to handcuff yourself for this player specifically. So if you can get him at like $6, even $7 million, I don't mind that. I think he fits. I think he addresses a need, which is something that you want to address, right? If you're the Red Wings at this point, and by all reports and what Steve Yzerman wants to do. The other thing for me is, Dougie Hamilton, I think when you look at the standings, where the Devils are right now, second last in the Eastern Conference, and the fact that his contract is structured the way it is, the modified, everyone has modified no trade lists and no movement clauses at this point. We all have to factor that into trade, almost every single trade around the league at this point. But because he has that built in, there is term. I think the Devils are kind of put in a corner here. I'm not going to say it's the same as Artemi Panarin situation, but I think they are kind of in a corner here where Dougie Hamilton could be had for a lot less than what he's probably worth, right? So like you said, you don't give up a king's ransom for a player like this. You don't. But I don't think you're going to have to if you're the Red Wings, which is beautiful. So I think if you're, Steve Yzerman coming back from the break, or even right now, obviously you can't make a trade, but you can talk to people, you can talk to other GMs. I think that you pick up the phone and you say, how do we get this done? What are you looking for? No, maybe I don't want to give that up, but we want the players still. How do we get this done, right? So I think there is a pathway, an avenue to get this done, which honestly could be very exciting for the Red Wings, because this is a player that would address a need. He has experience, right shot defenseman, fits the mold, but it is that contract. But honestly, it's, he has some term, which I think is attractive to a lot of teams, but it's not even that long. You can get out from under it pretty quickly here in the next couple of years. So, and you have some of your top dogs like Seider and Raymond already locked up to deals, right, with the cap going up. So I think they're okay. And it'll be very interesting to see what they end up doing coming back from the break.
And I think that's the big thing is too, just looking at this team, and go down in the comments right now, but why for yes and for no, is Dougie Hamilton a fit? Do you want them to trade? If you can get this guy on that blue line for a second round pick, we've seen Panarin move, what was it, a prospect, a second and a third. This is a guy that you could probably get for a lot less. But Darius, I feel like it's one of those things. This is going to be a team that's going to add. If Hamilton's there for cheap, you go for him. If not, I think at the end of the day, we collectively know you need to add something on this back end, hopefully a center as well. But either way, you cannot go into this deadline quiet, sitting on your hands.
No, you can't. I think, you look at this team. Have they been good all year? Yes. Not that good 5-on-5. And I think that they have to add something here. And like you said, Steve Yzerman cannot sit on his hands. He can't do that at this year's trade deadline. I know it's a younger team and this is the first time they'll be in the playoffs in a long time. You have to kind of go for it. You have to add something here. And I think it has to be with terms. So you're not handcuffed in terms of, great, we gave up a bunch of assets and now the guy's walking in the summer, right? You take a look at the standings. They're still very much in the race. I mean, Buffalo's right there. Boston is right there. We have no idea where they're going to fall. They could even fall out of the playoffs. You don't know what's going to happen after the Olympics. A lot of teams are going to come back looking different. A lot of guys are going to be feeling a little bit healthier. Some guys, top players might not be, depending on the Olympics. The league will look different. We're excited to break it all down for you guys here on the channel. So let us know how you feel in the comments below. And if you haven't yet, hit that subscribe button so you can stay up to date with everything going on with your Detroit Red Wings.